On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, Cooper Flagg can shoot threes now, and whoo boy, is it bad news for the rest of the country. He had just an insane game against Notre Dame. 42 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds on 14 shot attempts. He shot the ball 14 times. Of course, he, like the shot attempt thing is only when you don't get fouled. So, of course, like he lived at the free throw line, was 16 for 17 from the free throw line. But still, on 14 official field goal attempts, he scored 42 points. Now, we talked about this last show when Vlad Golden had 36 at UCLA, and I made the point that, like, you watch enough NBA, you get desensitized to 40-point games. You see a 42-point stat line, 42, 7, and 6, which is what Cooper Flagg had against Notre Dame. You see that if I told you Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did that, you wouldn't be like, that's not hard to do. You would just say, oh, that's just a typical day at the office for Shai. In college basketball, this is insane.
Unheard of.
For freshmen, this is insane. And Cooper Flagg on Saturday against Notre Dame, 42, 7, 6, 4 for 6 from 3. And like I said, 16 for 17 from the free throw line. It is an ACC freshman scoring record. No freshman in the history of this conference has scored 42 points in a game before. It is the most points for any Duke player in any game since 1988, according to the Duke Instagram page that I saw. And I'm pretty sure it's the most points I've ever seen one man score. No, I'm kidding. I'm pretty sure. What do we do with the pretty sure stat? I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But if you're a Cooper Flagg hater, you've come to the wrong show. The glazing is going to be out of control today. This is he is ascending to everything we hoped he would be. He's been great all year, but I think he's now emerging or developing, or however you want to describe it. He is becoming. He's entering his final form that we're going to see in college basketball. He's beginning to peak. He's beginning to turn into the guy that, like, obviously when he gets to the NBA, he's going to get even better. But, like, the guy that we were all terrified of, I think throughout this season he's been solid, great, the second best player in the country probably behind Johni Broome. But he hasn't really, like, grabbed the nation's attention and shaken you and said, you must watch me play every single time I take the floor. And I think we're getting there with him. I think between the Pitt game where they beat Pitt by 30 and he has the highlight dunk, follows it up with this Notre Dame performance, I think we're there with Cooper Flagg now. And I just want to talk about him. And I want to, as I said, the glazing might get out of control. I apologize in advance, but also, this kid's unbelievable. He's so good. Elsewhere in college basketball, the SEC race that I declared dead and over is suddenly interesting again. Auburn goes to the worst, probably the worst. I don't say that as disrespect to South Carolina. I'm just being realistic. Like I keep saying, South Carolina, as far as the worst teams in a conference go, they're very, very good. But Auburn goes to Columbia. Needs a semi-miracle to escape. They were on the ropes and then some against the Gamecocks. Johni Broome goes down, rolls his ankle, does not return in this game. They were actually losing when he rolled his ankle. They come back to win. It was a close game. I don't mean to say that they were, getting blown out and then he was not having them actually help them. That's certainly not the case. But Johni Broome is now going to be out for at least 2 games. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, he's out for 2, and then they'll decide for the third one, which is Tennessee. Yeah,
which has obviously opened up the National Player of the Year race. I think a lot of people think Cooper Flagg on Saturday maybe took the lead. It's far from over, though. It's definitely a 2-man race, but Johni Broome is going to be out for a little while. Auburn struggled against South Carolina, did win, though, and now suddenly the race is absolutely wide open, so that became interesting. Iowa State gets a massive, massive win in overtime against Texas Tech. That I will say it. That was a miraculous win. They needed a miracle. They got it. Send it to overtime at the buzzer. Time gets added onto the clock. Maybe traveled to score, but that's neither here nor there. They send it to overtime. They get the big win. Curtis Jones is unbelievable. I keep waiting for that kid to fall off a little bit. It's just not happening. He won't do it. He's an insane scorer coming off the bench for the Cyclones, and Iowa State is positioning themselves as belonging in the conversation with Duke and Auburn. I've been doing a lot of kicking the tires on the tiers, and I'm putting Auburn and Duke above everybody, and Iowa State's just kind of hanging around there saying, hey man, we were up 16, I think it was 18, I think. Was it 18 in the second half against Auburn and Maui? I think they were up 16 at halftime and then took an 18-point lead early in the second half. And that's their only loss. They squandered that away against Auburn, and Iowa State's playing great basketball. Meanwhile, Kentucky gets a big road win at Mississippi State in Starkville. Alabama is absolutely back. Huge win at A&M. Biggest win in SEC play so far, I'd say. Bama going on the road, winning at A&M. Illinois blows it against South Carolina. They get upset. The Big Ten race, maybe we revisit that a little bit because Illinois was one of the 5 teams I said could win it. They still probably can, but losing at home to USC is not going to help them there. And meanwhile, Tennessee bounces back at Texas, holds off Trey Johnson, who is going bananas for Texas. Holds off the Longhorns, and the Vols get a big road win at Texas, but they might have a Chaz Lanier problem.
Mm-hmm.
They might have a Chaz Lanier. Rick Barnes, Chaz Lanier butting heads a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know. We will see. But Chaz Lanier is a guy that I believe is a first-team All-American, and suddenly we're getting a little rocky situation with I didn't mean for that to be a pun on Rocky Top.
That was good.
Running into a little rocky situation with Chaz Lanier, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Great college basketball weekend. Tons to talk about. Might talk about Cooper Flagg for most of it. I'll try not to. We'll try to move it along. I'm gonna blame if you have a problem with me talking about Cooper Flagg too much, blame Cody and Tate for not.
I'll keep you in check today.
Yeah, move the show along because I could probably talk about this kid for 5 hours. Let's get into it. All right, Monday morning. Gonna talk Cooper Flagg a little bit. How we feeling, boys? We feeling good on a Monday morning?
I feel great. That was a great weekend. We're full into college basketball now.
Yeah, I it's hard because the doing mostly sports has made me. I've always watched the NFL play. Why everybody? If you're a sportsman, you have to watch the NFL and follow the NFL. But it's made it a little more challenging because I feel like I have to be locked in on the NFL more. But I'm gonna be honest. I still just find myself the second like these NFL games get to like 2 possessions, I just flip it over to college basketball.
And the
NFL,
love it.
I can't get enough. I fucking love college basketball, and I love the new role I have here, which is that I'm more of a general sports guy. I don't know. I gotta have my fingers on everything, and know what's going on in every sport. But boy, I do miss just like diving balls deep into some college basketball. But it's I think we're getting there. I think yeah, I mean once the NFL starts, it's our time. Or once the NFL stops, after the Super Bowl, it becomes college basketball time, and it is absolutely heating up, and Cooper Flagg is certainly helping with that.
Yeah, that was the storylines going on this year have been incredible, and like the script writers, it sucks to say, but man, great job this weekend with Cooper Flagg having his best game, his signature, stat line, with Johni Broome going down. We have quite a lot to talk about when it comes to the National Player of the Year.
I think, I don't want to overreact to one.
You're about
weekend.
to call it game.
I'm not calling.
You're calling game.
I am a game man. Everybody knows that. I like to call game. But I do think Cooper Flagg is, if we're doing the if the season ended today thing, I do think Cooper Flagg may have passed Johni Broome, and that's nothing against Johni Broome, but he turning his ankle is not going to help him moving forward. And Cooper Flagg has I said it earlier, it's like he's ascended to another level, and he's been so good at the start of the season that you almost think he can't get better, but now he's like hitting threes. Now Duke's offense, which worries me a little bit because we saw the in-game situations against Kansas and Kentucky where here go the burps again in the morning. Where Shire just turns the flag and says, go one-on-one, and this is how we're going to win these games, whatever. And it didn't work early in the year, but, you're hoping maybe as time goes on and he gets more reps and gets more comfortable playing against college players, that will be a viable strategy in late games. I don't know. We'll see. Duke hasn't really been tested like that since their 2 losses. But that is kind of what their offense is becoming. Mm-hmm. And where Cooper Flagg they'll set a few screens and the Cooper Flagg will suddenly pop up at the top of the key, catch the ball, and now we have just an ISO situation, and Cooper Flagg is unguardable and can do whatever he wants, and he bullies his way to the rim, and if they send double, he's so good at finding the open man, and it's become just sort of an NBA offense, which is good insofar as this guy is going to be the number 1 pick, and he's the most talented player obviously in college basketball. It gives me pause only in that this is not common for college basketball. This is generally something you'll see from Cooper Flagg in 3 years when he becomes an NBA All-Star. I don't know if we can rely on this throughout an entire college basketball season, and yet he's just getting better, and it's working more and more and more. And Duke's offense is like, their defense is what makes them great, and yet their offense is coming along to a point where like he's unguardable, and if you do want to double him, they have so many weapons. I don't know, like this Duke team. I get that the ACC is not good, and that's going to become interesting as the season goes on because they're really not going to get tested at all.
They have this week alone. They have Miami, Florida, and Boston College, 2 teams out of the top 130 in KenPom.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about, looking forward for the Player of the Year race, what he did this past week with the big dunk against Pitt and then the huge game against Notre Dame, those are 2 of the better teams in the ACC. Top half.
Yeah.
It's only going to get easier for them.
So that's good, and for their record, that's good for I think the Cooper Flagg National Player of the Year candidacy, which I was going back and forth on in my head, like thinking, as the non-conference was unfolding, I was like, all right, I think Johni Broome might have the upper hand just because he's going to be playing in meaningful games all the time. When Johni Broome drops 25 and 8 with like 3 assists on like a Tennessee or a Florida or a Bama or whoever, just like one of these SEC teams, we're all going to be watching, and we're all going to take note of it. We're all going to be like, holy shit, that was an awesome performance. Whereas Cooper Flagg, like how often is he going to grab our attention when he's playing, your Cals and your Boston Colleges? But I actually might think it's the other. I might flip the other way where it's like Cooper Flagg, he's gonna average like 30 points a game in ACC play.
It's funny.
His stats are just gonna be outrageous.
It's funny you say that because if you remember doing this show, you were early on the Cooper Flagg train. It wasn't like you were finding a diamond in the rough, but you were talking about Cooper Flagg for a while, and your concern was he might just be too good of an all-around basketball player for him to put up big numbers.
I thought he would be. I thought his mindset with this Duke team would be, I'm gonna play defense. I'm gonna guard 1 through 5 on the defensive end. I'm gonna be the focal, or not the focal point. That's not the spear, the tip of the spear, so to speak, of the defense. Malawach is gonna race everything behind me, but I'm gonna be the guy that like put me on their best player. I will shut him down. That's my role. And then on offense, I saw him as like the facilitator that like just gets everyone going and averages. He'll average like 14 or 15 a game and probably like 5 assists. That's what I kind of envisioned it being that way. No.
You're not.
He's just doing everything.
But
everything.
That's what I want to get that point across is let's not act like he's not the facilitator and he's not the tip of the spear. He's doing all those things you said he was going to do, and then he's also just averaging 20 points a game.
He's just scoring on top of it.
He's not shooting a crazy amount. I mean, he did that on 14 shots. Last game, 11 shots. Game before that, 12 shots. He's shooting at a high percentage. He makes his free throws. He leads the team in rebounds. He leads the team in assists. He leads the team in scoring.
It's crazy. It's crazy. He can score from anywhere. He can score in any way. He somehow, how tall he is. How long he is, and that's evident when he's playing defense and challenging shots and dunking on guys and stuff. But somehow he's like, somehow I forget it. I don't know, like, because the way he plays like he's like 6'6" or 6'7", and then there'll be like a play. I forget who was driving. Maybe it was Knipple. One of the Duke players was driving to the bucket, and Cooper Flagg's like crashing from the top of the key, and they just dish it to him, and he just goes up to dunk it, and it was like the easiest dunk in the world for him. But I don't know why I continued to be surprised by it, but I was like, oh shit, he's gonna dunk that. Like he like gathered almost at the free throw line, and then he obviously was inside the free throw line when he went up to dunk it, but I don't know. He the way he plays and moves his body, it feels like he's like 6'5", 6'6", and then those instances happen, and he just shits all over people, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's doing this as like a 6'9" guy.
Well, and the funny part is, at the beginning of the year, it's like he's had quite the redemption arc because he had those turnovers early, and everyone would remind you he's only 17 years old.
Yeah,
and it's like, all right, shut up. So then for like a stretch, it's like I don't want to hear about how young Cooper Flagg is, but now that he's doing this on 42 points on Saturday, I'm back to reminding everyone this dude should be a senior in high school right now.
Well, what's funny is he's not 17 anymore. I think that might be the difference. He turned 18.
He's grown up.
They played Georgia Tech on the road. So his birthday was the 21st, December 21st. He turned 18 the same day that they beat Georgia Tech by 26 on the road. Mm-hmm. He had 13 points. He played 28 minutes. He had 13 points. He was 1 for 3 from 3. I'm just going through his stats here. I think is that when he started shooting the ball? He was 2 for 5.
Yes, since then
George
he
Mason.
has had.
I'm trying to figure out like when he started shooting threes. It pretty much was then. Like the second he turned 18, it's right around then. And then he goes 2 for 4 against Virginia Tech, 2 for 2 against SMU, 1 for 2 against Pitt, and 4 for 6 on Saturday against Notre Dame from the 3-point line. He like learned how to shoot three. Like that's what he asked for his 18th birthday, is a 3-point jump shot.
It's like when your dad doesn't let you throw a curveball till you turn like 14.
Yeah.
His dad was like, "All right, Cooper, I think you're ready to start shooting threes."
It's gonna mess up your development. We gotta wait till you're 18 years old till you can shoot threes. He's so good. Duke is so good. It's kind of breaking my brain. And if you're paying enough attention to college basketball, and college football, like maybe you're in the same boat as I am, but it's so weird to live in a world where Notre Dame football and Duke basketball are extremely likable. And reasonable minds can disagree, and maybe there are people out there that do watch this Duke team and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about, dude? I want to punch all those guys in the face. All of them suck." I remember Shire when he played at Duke. I'll never like that guy. As long as Coach K is still going to games, I'll never like him. And they're the camera crazies, all those fucking nerds. Like I'll never. Maybe that's some people's point of view. You know this about me, Tate. I got to call it like I see it. I watch Duke. I love watching them play basketball. I think they're so talented. I think the talent gap between Duke and the second most talented team is pretty substantial. But one thing I love about college basketball is that doesn't always matter, and we've seen a million examples of that not mattering. That the most talented team doesn't always win it in the end. So I don't mean to crown Duke before everybody else, and especially like we keep saying, like the ACC is not good, and that does worry me for Duke. Like when the NCAA tournament rolls around, they've kind of turned into Gonzaga light almost.
I was about to
they're
ask.
Like not a, they're like a less intense version of what Gonzaga deals with.
In what world am I about to ask you? But is this not the ACC is so weak that you have to worry about, are they used to playing elite competition? Because at some point, starting about the Sweet 16, they're going to play a team that they haven't played a team better than since December.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is that Illinois game in the Garden at the end of February, it helps, but Illinois has the. I still think so. Yakuchunas didn't play for Illinois against USC. They still should have won the game. You shouldn't. USC is not a good basketball team, and you're playing at home, and you have serious Big Ten aspirations. You can't lose that game. But that's I still stand by Illinois being the most talented, the highest ceiling. That's what I keep saying. I keep going back to that because when we talk about the Big Ten race, I don't want to say Illinois is going to win it because if you watch enough Illinois, you realize they can shoot themselves in the foot just as often as they can have nights like they had at Oregon where they're not missing. So they are very much a roller coaster. But Illinois, I still believe, and I will believe pretty much all season, unless like Purdue, Michigan State, and Michigan, kind of find another level. I will believe that Illinois has the highest ceiling. So maybe that's their one glimmer of hope, even though Illinois just lost to SC, and I don't know. I imagine that Illinois will come to play, and that'll be a good test. But otherwise, I think Duke, every ACC game remaining on their schedule, I'm looking through it right now. So you go to Clemson and you go to North Carolina. Those would be the two that you would circle as not that they're going to – I don't expect them to lose. I expect them to run the table. I do. I expect them to run the table in the ACC. They might trip up once or twice, like we kind of said with Tennessee, losing by 30 at Florida. I personally will allow one or two stinkers, So, maybe there's a world where they – I don't know. Do they go to NC State? No, they don't even go to NC State. I'm trying to think of maybe they could lose at Clemson. They could very easily lose at Clemson. Okay. Obviously, Carolina's a rivalry game that could get interesting. And Carolina's a team that isn't good, but they're insane. They're just they're like playing a football team with a gunslinging quarterback. Well, they'll just fucking throw it all over the field.
They are, but also if it wasn't Carolina, I don't think you would be saying that.
Right?
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
If Florida State had a gunslinging type of player, you wouldn't be as worried about Florida State. It's just
probably
that
not
Carolina brand.
It's just that it's a rivalry throughout the record type game that. You could see a world where RJ Davis scores 35
sure.
and Carolina just comes to play.
Actually, I can't see that.
You can't see that
against Duke.
No, I could see that happening against Carolina. But the point is you have to try really hard to Wake Forest away. Maybe that's I think Duke. Here's my point. outside of maybe 1 or 2 games, I think Duke will be favored by 10+ in every ACC game they play the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I think they'll be favored by like 10+. And again, that's not saying they're going to win all of those. Upsets happen. That's why we love college basketball. But I'm just framing it as like I expect them to rack up a fuck ton of wins. I expect Cooper Flagg to continue to put up insane stats. It is working against him that, like, if Duke is up by 25, now Notre Dame, they got up big against Notre Dame. Notre Dame made a game of it late. That was almost super interesting. They had a 3. I think they were down 5, and they had a pull-up transition 3 Notre Dame did with, like, under a minute that very easily could have gone in and cut the lead to 2 and really made Duke sweat. But I think Duke is going to find themselves in these positions where they're up 20 to 30 fairly often in the ACC, and whether that helps Cooper Flagg or hurts his national player of the candidate, I think it's going to help because I think he's going to just stuff the stat sheet. But I don't know how many people are going to be locked in on Duke games this year.
I think that if I was to predict today, Cooper Flagg is going to win the Player of the Year, and Duke will be your number 1 overall seed, because I don't think anyone in the SEC is going to be, running the table, especially if Broome is dealing with this.
Yeah.
The problem is, though, if you're looking at Ken Palm rankings and you're looking at the ACC, Clemson is 29th. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the next best team in the ACC. There are 8 teams in the SEC higher than that.
Higher than that, yeah.
So when you talk about getting into a Sweet 16, an Elite 8, a Final Four, Duke is not going to be bad.
Not going to be tested.
There's going to be an SEC team that they play in the Elite 8 or maybe even the Sweet 16. I don't know how. Like, what are some of these SEC teams going to be? 4 or 5 seeds?
Yeah, that's true.
They're going to have and they're going to have played 12 games in the last couple of months, tougher than Duke's toughest game.
Hell, dude, Kentucky could be a 4 or 5 seed.
I can't wait for the tournament.
Yeah, what if Kentucky's, you get a Duke-Kentucky rematch, 1 versus 4. Duke is going to lock up a 1 seed. I think that's pretty evident. Duke is, unless they just fall off a cliff, which it's just like it's going to take injuries, I think. And Malik Brown, I will say, I'm keeping my eye on that one. Malik Brown banged knees early in this game. He's I want to call him the best defender on the team because I respect how good of a defender he is. But
yeah, what are you going to say?
They have so many good defenders that I don't know if that's fair to Malawach and Flagg, and Proctor can swallow guys up which I should probably find a better phrase to describe that. But Cody got really excited when he heard that one. He's like, "Who is this guy? This guy I gotta look him up." They're so good defensively. Malik Brown off the bench is unreal, and he banged knees with Mason Gillis, I think it was, early in the game, and then missed the rest of the game. So I haven't seen an update on whether he's expected to miss any time or how serious that was. It looked like he just kind of knocked knees, but then he never came back, and it looked like one of those things you just go to the bench and rub it a little bit, and then Cody, calm down, dude. Cody's getting fired up about this Duke team. Malik Brown, they'll need him. They'll need him in the tournament, so hopefully it's nothing super serious.
Yeah, I don't have much of an update. But
I saw Shire was just like, Shire, I think the word he used was, we're concerned.
Yeah, he said if you can't go back into the game, that's a cause for concern. And we'll get some imaging.
But until we hear what's going on, I'm not going to smash the panic button on that one. NFL playoffs. We're talking about NFL playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the NFL playoffs, and the key to you scoring big is betting on them at DraftKings, the number 1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Here's another reason to watch your favorite players crush it in the playoffs. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big during the NFL playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Titus. That's code Titus, Titus. For new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Time to move on.
I'm calling to the bullpen. That's enough Duke for a bit. Let's move on.
Let's move on to Auburn. Auburn escaping South Carolina was probably the other story of the weekend. Iowa State got the big win. The 2 SEC teams going on the road. Mm-hmm. Other than Auburn, the two big road wins, Kentucky and Bama. I don't know, Auburn?
Yeah, I would go Auburn, especially with Johni Broome. That is an ankle injury, could be anything from so it's not a high ankle sprain is the good news, and it's non-surgical.
Yeah.
But ankles can be anything from 2 weeks to 6 weeks.
They can linger. Yeah, they can definitely linger, and they got Tennessee coming up. at the end of the month. Mississippi State at home, Georgia away, Tennessee. So he's going to miss the next two? Is that what you're saying?
He's out
At
for
least?
2, and then the decision is this. They don't play that following week until Saturday the 25th, which is about 12 days from now. Do you trot him out there at 80, 90% because you're trying to win that big? That's the only time they play Tennessee this year.
Right.
Which could determine the SEC regular season seeding, blah, blah, blah. Do you trot him out or do you hold him? And then you can hold him against LSU, Mississippi, Oklahoma. You don't need him until Saturday, February 8th against Florida. So I guess my question to you, Titus, is if you're the coach, are you using Auburn's deep. Are you holding out Johni Broome to hopefully have him 100% later? Or do you want to win?
This could be a Tom Izzo manufactured adversity situation for Bruce Pearl. And if he plays his cards right, he could This could be very beneficial for Auburn. That you develop all the other guys, you let them get used to being the man on the team. You turn to Pettiford and you're like, we're going to need more from you, man. You turn to Baker Mazar and you're like, we need more scoring out of you now. Janai's out, we need more from you. And all these guys get comfortable being in a position where they're now expected to score more.
And then
Broome comes back and everybody's confidence has been raised a little bit while he was out. Maybe that's the move. Maybe you do that. I think he's gonna have to play against Tennessee because I think that's enough time. An ankle injury can linger, but also like if he plays against Tennessee, re-aggravates it, or doesn't feel 100%, he comes out of that game and there's a lot of swelling and it's bad. Then you can just pivot towards the NCAA tournament and just be like, we're gonna punt on the regular season SEC championship and we're gonna keep Johni out for the next 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it takes to get the ankle back to full health. But the more likely scenario is he plays against Tennessee, feels great, and whether they win or lose, it's like I think we're fine and we can move forward. He's a tough guy.
Do you have any concerns for them this week? So they host Mississippi State and then they go to Georgia, and they'll be doing both without Johni Broome.
Yes, I do. I have concerns both of those games. I think Mississippi State is a team that can, now that they can score the basketball. They just lost at home to Kentucky, but as we keep saying with Kentucky, I mean it's easier said than done, obviously, but Kentucky's becoming a hilarious basketball team with the way they win and lose games. Just in that the most points Kentucky has scored in a loss is 69 points at Georgia when they lost last week. They scored 69 points at Georgia. They have not scored 70 points and lost.
If they don't score 70, they lose.
And the fewest points that they have scored in a win is 77 against Duke. It's just like Kentucky, if you let Kentucky score, which is no shit, but also like you're letting them run up and down. They hit 16 threes against Mississippi State. If you let Kentucky get comfortable and score the basketball and you get into a track meet with them, you will lose the game. If you slow them down and make them work for points, you're going to beat them.
Yeah, I'm not trying to tell Mark Pope how to do his job. He's done a pretty good job thus far. But Mark Pope, just get to 70.
Just get to 70. All you have to do is get to 70. So Mississippi State lost at home, but like they can. I'm encouraged long term with Mississippi State because the Chris Jans model has been we play lockdown defense, but then we muck it up, and every game turns into a rock fight, and it's disgusting, and we can't score the basketball. And right now they can score, and they're fun to watch. So yeah, I mean Mississippi State could absolutely beat Auburn at Auburn. Auburn, I still think. If I'm doing the tiers, it's Duke and Auburn at the top, and this is assuming Johni Broome is healthy and Auburn is full go in that regard. Even though it is a little concerning that South Carolina played them well. Mm-hmm. I think Iowa State is making the case to be in that mix, and I probably would put them in that mix right now, but I'm a little more hesitant because Duke and Auburn do seem to be head and shoulders. Just the totality of the season from what we've seen from them. But I will say with Auburn, they're not bad defensively. They have so much length and athleticism, and they have dudes that can, when it's time to get stops, they can get the stops. I do worry about, and this was evident in the South Carolina game. I do worry sometimes about their want to, so to speak, on defense. I worry that they can be scored on relatively easily if you set enough screens in a possession and make them work a little bit, you can get like easy back cuts and easy, to set one back screen, and then there's a miscommunication, and then you're laying the ball in, and you got two Auburn guys that are like going like this to each other, and like I thought you had the, and I'd like to see that cleaned up a little bit. Their offense is unreal when Johni Broome is healthy and playing well, and he's one-on-one unguardable, and then you surround him with shooters, and you surround him with Miles Kelly he got hot late in this game, and Tahad Pettiford was, once Broome went out, like I said, like his role, not that he needs to be told shoot more, like he's comfortable getting his, but he was good for them late in this one. But he's got so much talent around it. You can't guard Johni Broome one-on-one. But you also can't double him because he can pass the ball so well and he can handle the ball so well. Their offense, I'm never really going to be worried about, even in the South Carolina game where they weren't really shooting particularly well for most of the game, and it looked like it was a little bit of a struggle offensively. I'm never going to be looking at Auburn and being like, oh shit, what's wrong with their offense, or like this isn't really working. The defense, if they fuck this up this season and they get bounced in the Sweet 16, say, or they don't win they don't win the SEC regular season or don't win the SEC tournament, it's almost certainly going to be because of their defense. It's almost certainly going to be because they're just lapses defensively, which I really don't think it's a talent issue. I don't think it's a maybe they could, like, Dylan Cardwell is great and I like him a lot. Is he an elite rim protector? Probably not. So maybe there's like that issue, but like as far as the personnel and the skill, that's not going to be the problem. I do sometimes wonder if they have the buy-in, the thing that you see when you watch like a Houston or an Iowa State or like a team like that, where it's like, we're here to make your life a living fucking hell when you're on offense. I don't know if Auburn has that mindset, and I say that while acknowledging full well that they are still good.
I was going to say don't listen to that and think that Auburn is not. I mean, they're a top 20 defensive team in the country. You're just saying the identity of a Houston and the identity of an Iowa State is like, hey, we sit down and we guard, and that might not be the case.
Yeah.
It might be more talent and length for Auburn than want to do it.
They give up easy buckets a little too often,
which
for
you
a team
can't
that
do.
good.
Yeah,
a little too often, but it's not
easy ones.
But their offense is so good. I think there's a thought that like we can get it back on the other end, or it's obvious that offense is what's going to drive them. But I don't want that to become a deal where, like, South Carolina should not have been scoring as easily as they were in the first half, and even at times down the stretch in the second half. Like, this was South Carolina hits free throws. It's they probably pulled the upset. It was right there for the taking. And I think the defense, even though South Carolina only scored 66 points, it was. Yeah, I think that's going to be the issue, and I'm obviously nitpicking. I think Auburn is if not the best, the second best team in the country. So, I'm just trying to figure out how does this go wrong for Auburn if it does, because they are a nearly complete team, but now Johni Broome's going to be out. They're going to have to figure some stuff out moving forward, and without him, and also I would like to see them use this opportunity to. I would like to see Bruce Pearl use the opportunity to just be like, all right, our offense is good. We don't have to worry about that. We know we have guys that can score. We know we have guys that can not just score, but score one-on-one situations. Like Broome's a one-on-one guy. Pettiford's a one-on-one guy. Miles Kelly is not really as much, but he's such a knockdown shooter that, like, you give him a sliver of space, he can get a shot off and score. Baker Mazzara can get his own at times. They have so many guys that can just create something out of nothing. It's so hard to guard. I would love to see them for them to like get back to where they were at the start of the season, which they're 15-1, and I don't mean to say they've fallen off, but to get back to like, oh yeah, that's right, Auburn is the best team in the country. I think they get back to like just making life a living hell for teams on offense, and yeah.
Well, on the same Saturday where, you're starting to not question Auburn, but Johni Broome goes down, and it's like, okay, they might have a hole that we didn't think they had at the beginning of the year.
Cody,
what happened?
I mean, you said they might have a hole that we didn't think was.
Oh my gosh,
Cody is horny this morning.
Tuck it in the waistband,
dude. Cody, I mean, yeah.
I'm just trying to talk Alabama.
Yeah, we're just trying to talk ball, dude. We're just trying to talk.
All right, Titus, lock in. My question is I will. To be fair, I said Tyrese Proctor's a guy who could swallow a dude up or something like that, and that's kind of what started. That's more than ball.
Yeah,
that's more than ball.
I kind of started this whole thing, and I'll tap my chest and say that one was probably on me.
My question for you, Mark, was going to be on the same Saturday where for the first time in a while, you might have a question about Auburn, with Johni Broome going down, is also the same Saturday where I think you officially have to stamp Alabama
Bama's
as back.
Yeah.
Are you willing to renegotiate or reclassify your tiers in the SEC?
Yes. Because if we're doing okay, hold on. What do you mean? Like regular season championship tiers, or
1 week ago today,
national title contender tiers?
Nope, SEC regular season.
Okay.
A week ago today, you were Auburn, and then you weren't saying that no one was. You're still saying it was the deepest, the most talented, top heavy, everything, but it was Auburn and then the rest. I would say at this point, I wouldn't be mad if you gave me Alabama.
I'd put Alabama in there now. Yeah, with Broome being out, and that being called into question, maybe Alabama's played their way back into it anyway. Maybe they don't need Johni Broome to be out because they're going to play twice. And part of the Auburn argument I've been making, as you know, is the schedule thing. But if Bama's going to play Auburn twice, that's certainly helps Bama. And what helps Alabama is they just went on the road and beat A&M, who is very, very good. A&M, that's a very good win. A&M is not maybe one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the SEC, but they could very easily be a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament when March rolls around. That's probably the win of the year so far in conference play.
Yeah,
but about have to be, right? Going to Texas A&M on the road. So I think as it stands right now, Bama has what Auburn doesn't quite have yet, but also looking at the schedule, Auburn doesn't need to rack up a ton of massive road wins, but Bama has the road win in the bank, so to speak. Where I know Auburn just went to South Carolina, but you're going to get challenged on the road in this conference, and road wins, like we've talked about before, they should be worth 1.5 in this conference.
Auburn will make that trip as well.
Auburn has to go to A&M.
Yep.
Yeah. So Auburn's more, if I remember right, their tough road trips are more backloaded towards the end of the season, because they have Georgia, who's good and very capable, and if Johni's not playing, absolutely could beat Auburn. They got Georgia coming up, then it's Ole Miss and LSU and some of these others.
It's not the worst time in the world for
Johni Broome to be out.
It's not the worst.
But yeah, Bama going on the road and having Mark Sears play the way he did, and Mark Sears is definitively back to what we wanted him to be, and the right cell injury where we were worried that your best shooter is going down. You're a team that relies so heavily on 3-point shooting, and now your best shooter is out for the year. What is that going to mean for Bama? I don't know. It means the other guys are going to hit threes. It means the other guys are going to step up. That's what it's meant so far. I think Alabama's right back where we expected them to be. I think Alabama is very much in the mix, and I think if not for Auburn emerging in Maui and looking so good in Maui and looking, and it wasn't just Maui, it was the Houston win too. If not for that to kind of overshadow Alabama, I don't think Alabama would be thought of as a disappointment at all this season. The Purdue game was a little disappointing, but I think Purdue and Mackey's another beast, one, and Purdue is not bad. Purdue is going into – I wrote that in my notes too. I want to talk about Purdue is kind of figuring some things out right now. Purdue is we'll look back on that Bama loss and be like, oh, yeah, when we overreacted to that, that was pretty stupid because maybe losing to Purdue and Mackey Arena, there's no shame in that. They lose to Oregon by 2 or 1, was it? And those are the only blemishes.
And Oregon's looked a little better this week too.
So, yeah, Bama is all the way back to what we thought they would be. I just think that Auburn and Duke have kind of emerged to a level that we did, Bama has stayed consistent, I think. From the start of the season to now, Bama is absolutely right at the exact same level. It's just I think some teams have jumped them, and that's really the only issue with them. But as I look at the SEC regular season, I would say it's Auburn and Bama now. I
can't wait. So this Saturday, Bama, Kentucky. I don't know if you can set an over-under high enough I wouldn't go with.
Oh, my God.
That's 2 of the best 3 offensive teams in the country. Ken Palm's got it at
Where's
90,
it at? At
90.
Lexington? In Tuscaloosa.
It is at Kentucky this Saturday.
Yeah, that could be in the hundreds.
Fucking awesome.
That could be in the hundreds. That'll be awesome. Tennessee, the number 1 team in the country as of this recording, as we're recording it this morning. In a few hours, they will no longer be the number 1 team in the country. But They won at Texas, and I'm sure their Tennessee fans are like, "What about us? Like we've lost one SEC game. We're still very good. We're still, we have one loss on the entire season. Why are you so quick to dismiss us? One, you lost by 30 to Florida. There's that. Two, trouble in paradise with Chaz Lanier.
I love it.
You saw the quote, I assume, or you saw the situation.
You got to do what you're paid to do.
Chaz Lanier, for those who missed it, second half, it was like 11 seconds into the second half, doesn't shoot the ball. Rick Barnes drew up a play for Chaz Lanier to start the second half. Chaz Lanier doesn't shoot. He immediately pulls him. He gets asked about it in the post-game press conference, says that Chaz Lanier is paid to shoot the ball. He did not shoot the ball. I pulled him. And, yeah, maybe we're making a mountain out of a molehill, but at the same time, Chaz Lanier has been the difference for Tennessee. Every time I talk about Tennessee, I mention his name, and I mention his name because not to just reduce everybody back to the identity that I know your program to be the last 5 years or so, but that seems to be consistent with Tennessee is that when they have problems at scoring the basketball and you have a guy like Chaz Lanier who's just a natural-born scorer, and he was the story of Tennessee for me up until the Florida loss. It is Chaz Lanier is, you look on National Player of the Year odds and he starts he's 12th in the country and is just moving his way up, and suddenly he's the third or fourth, and he's best odds to win National Player of the Year, and he's in first team All-American conversations and all that. He had 10 points in this game, 1 for 5, or I'm sorry, 3 for 11 from the field. Had 3 fouls. He just kind of had a ho-hum game. Did the same thing against Florida. This is now 2 games in a row. I don't need Chaz Lanier to average 25 and be Eric Dixon out there, but I don't love the vibes around the Chaz Lanier situation right now. And the old man in me is letting this snowball a little bit, and we talked about it a little bit last show, where I'm thinking, is this is he a mercenary? Is he a scoring mercenary that
He was treated like one. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Rick Barnes treated him like one.
Because the rest of the Tennessee roster, there's a ton of carryover, obviously, and all these guys are carrying the loss to Purdue in the Elite Eight last year with them, and they're carrying Zakai Ziegler's played 7,000 games for Tennessee and kind of represents that program right now. Is there a Chaz? Yeah. Is there a Chaz Lanier problem? Can we get carried away and talk about this is the problem with the transfer portal? Is that what we should be doing? Because Rick Barnes kind of gave some red meat to the the Wolves there.
It's the first thing I thought of when I saw that quote was Zakai Ziegler. He's getting paid too. You know what I mean?
Right. He's also getting paid. Yes.
People that get retained by their team are also getting paid in this NIL world, but I don't think Rick Barnes would ever say that about someone that returns. He is talking about a hired gun, a mercenary. Listen, man, we met with you. We met with your family. We told you we'd give you this much money because you are to come in here and score. So if I draw up a play for you to come off a screen to start the second half and you don't shoot it, you're not holding up your end of the bargain.
Yeah.
I will say, did you see the actual play in question? I didn't think it was the worst thing. It was a pretty fucking good basketball play by Lanier. But point being, I love.
But you don't know what he taught. You don't know if he was just shoot. I don't care how.
It had to be.
He very easily could have been in the locker room and just said, "I don't care if you're triple teamed. Put this shot up." And then Lanier doesn't.
And threw it into the fucking stands. By the way. But no, how does that do? It seems like, and we'll talk about Mick Cronin later too, but Rick Barnes, Mick Cronin, and then we've got coaches leaving the game. These older coaches, they're letting you know how they feel right now.
Yeah.
They're not going to play by your rules.
Yeah. It's an interesting wrinkle. That's you see the quote, it was kind of jarring at first, but then it's no, I guess that makes total sense. That's kind of the
How would that make you feel if you were a player? Cuz Barnes is right. We are paying you. But also, this is really the first time that's been set up.
I think this is going to happen more because I think we're in a transition period that we're kind of slowly getting out of, where I think players sort of were having their cake and eating it too, which is a saying I never really fully understood, but it should be eating your cake and having it too, not having your cake and eating it too. But anyway, players want to be thought of as like kids that are, like go easy on us, and we're just kids out there. We're just college students, whatever. But also pay us. And I think as the money continues to be heavily publicized and just goes up and up and up, and suddenly, we're living in a world where Coleman Hawkins was paid $2 million apparently to go to Kansas State. Like, of course, these coaches are gonna be like, "Hey, man, what the fuck? We're paying like you're These are professional basketball players, and they're still young and they're still college students, and all that is true. But at the same time, like, Chaz Lanier probably got a lot of money to play basketball at Tennessee, and at some point, Tennessee's going to want to return on the investment. And through how many games? 15 games. He was doing great. These last 2, not so much. And he can bounce back, obviously, but it's just interesting because now the stuff that's being thought, everyone's thinking it, but the stuff that we're all like kind of quietly whispering to each other is now being said publicly in post-game press conferences. Like, hey, man, we're paying you to shoot the ball. Shoot the ball. It's interesting. I don't know. And I think it's going to become more common as we move forward. And I think the handling players with kid gloves is going to be less of a thing. But the counter to that, I would say, is what's unfair is that there are still guys on pretty good college basketball teams that really aren't making that much money at all. So it's not fair to just be like every single guy that's suiting up for a power conference team, we're just going to assume is making $700,000 to be playing basketball. Not the case. Like the best player, probably close to that, But I don't know. It's an interesting thing because you can't. I don't think it's like a blanket. Like let's just criticize every college basketball player because they're now professionals. But also there are guys who it feels like that's fine. And I think we as media people, the coaches, and the general fans are still in this like transition period of trying to find what's appropriate when it comes to criticizing these guys. I
think that's one of the most interesting dynamics about the whole, like in the NBA, the minimum salary, everyone's still making over $1 million. And when you look at, the highest paid players, they might slack off, they might have an attitude, but there's a reason why they're getting paid that much. I think it'd be so tough to be in a locker room and know that like Coleman Hawkins is making $2 million and we've lost 6 of our last 7 games.
Yeah.
And it's like, Coleman, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm sitting over here. I have to go to class. I'm not getting paid. You're making $2 million.
And there are dudes getting on the court probably for Kansas State that are making like $20,000.
Yes.
An NIL or something. Like they're not everybody's getting rich, but there are guys that are getting
It has to make
rich.
Internal animosity, does it not?
Yeah. I would assume so, yeah. I would assume so. And Chaz, that was an interesting moment for Rick Barnes. But yeah, I mean, more to the point, Chaz Lanier, 2 games in a row now has not played well for Tennessee. They were lucky to hold off Texas and win this one, and obviously not so lucky against Florida. But that's something to monitor with Tennessee because as much as I want to believe that they have balanced scoring, and as much as I want to believe that Chaz Lanier is not just a Dalton Connect replacement, and they're just going to need to rely on him to score 20. I do think if Tennessee has serious Final Four national title aspirations, I don't envision a world where Tennessee wins 6 straight NCAA tournament games and Chaz Lanier isn't just like dropping 20 plus every night. I don't think they're going to win too many tournament games where he's going 3 for 11.
I'm starting to waver on Tennessee a little bit. I know we argued a week ago. I was just wrong about that. When you look back on Tennessee now, obviously the Illinois game on the road was exciting, was cool, was fun. They won by 2 against not.
And Illinois kind of gave it away.
Yes, they did.
I mean, Tennessee. It's a matter of perspective whether Tennessee took it or Illinois gave it away. But and Illinois and when USC goes and beats Illinois by 10, suddenly
it diminishes that for sure. And then you open up SEC play, and they beat the shit out of Arkansas at home. And I think that's when I was riding high. Was like, okay, well, guys, every waking moment on this earth, the win against Arkansas is looking worse and worse.
Yeah.
Arkansas is not having a tournament team right now. So then they get beat by 30 to Florida. They don't look great against Texas. 15-1 for Tennessee. What are they going to be today in the AP poll? Like,
so Auburn, Duke, Iowa State, you got to be above them.
But then how do you put Tennessee above Florida when Florida beat them by?
I know, but just beat them by 30. Florida probably has to be above them. I don't know. They might be like 5th or 6th, maybe.
Interesting, 15-1. I'll say that.
January 25th. That's the big date. Going to Auburn. Tennessee at Auburn. That's the no matter if they win that, no matter how they win, they can look like disgusting Tennessee and it can be 52-49, and both teams are 3 for 21 from three, and it's just a total shit show of a basketball game. You win that one, I think.
Crown jewel. Yep.
I think we erase everything leading up to that game, or these last two, I should say, which, they did win at Texas. I think Texas is Texas has a lot of talent. They're not well coached. They're not, I don't know. I want them to be good because Ohio State opened the season beating Texas.
Don't go look at Texas's wins. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
if you
Texas
want
is
Texas
not,
to
Trey Johnson is awesome, but he's a little bit of a chucker. They have a lot of chuckers on the team. They have a lot of guys that are like Kaluma. What game was it? The game before this one, was it Auburn?
They played Auburn earlier this week.
Where Kaluma single-handedly brought them back in that game. So they have dudes that can go off and trick you into thinking that they are actually a good team. But if you watch Texas, you're like, this is kind of a disjointed team full of chuckers, honestly.
Yeah,
that doesn't play great defense. But at the same time, they might sneak into the NCAA tournament.
I don't know how crazy this is to say. I don't know if they're going to. When they play.
Holy shit, I am.
That's what I'm saying.
I did just look at their wins.
If you play, they have not. Anytime they've played a team in the top 90, they've gotten beat.
They've lost. Their best win is NC State, Syracuse.
That's bad. That's bad. St. Joe's.
Oh my God. St. Joe's, yeah.
But they beat Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Houston Christian and Chicago State.
Yeah, Texas is not good. Texas is not good. They're probably not going to make the tournament.
No, you can't say that.
We need them to be good, I know.
Real good.
They're probably not. Quick break to talk about our friends at Rhoback. It's 2025, and it's basketball season, and Rhoback is back. By now, you know how much we love Rhoback, but what we really love is all their new releases. Rhoback recently released their new men's huddle hoodie. It's different than their Hezzy hoodie, which you all have gotten to know, and it is awesome. The fabric has a really comfortable cotton poly blend, so it's both warm and has a nice stretch to it. They sent me a couple. I wear them all the time. They're so freaking comfortable. The only problem I have with them is that I wear them so often, I feel like they spend just as much time in my laundry as they do on me because I'm just cycling through. And the other day, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I did dig one of these out of the hamper and spray a little cologne on it and wear it again, and I was like, whatever. It's just too comfortable. It's the hoodie that I reach for when I'm trying to chill on the weekends. Second, the Rhoback Sprint joggers are new joggers as well, and they are also incredibly easy to move in. Can rock them for a quick game of pickup or while you're just hanging around. They're lightweight, have a perfect amount of stretch while keeping a soft feel. That's what's about the joggers. You can work out in them, you can lounge in them, you can do anything in between. Use code Titus on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first purchase through the end of the week. RHOBACK.com, 20% off all hoodies, joggers, and more with code Titus. Rhoback.com. Use code Titus, 20% off. Rhoback is the best. I promise you. Go try some Rhoback product. You will not be disappointed. What else we got? To Iowa State over Texas Tech. Iowa State beats Texas Tech in overtime. It feels like it's going to be Iowa State Houston again in the Big 12, and it's a two-horse race. I will say sneaky, and I wrote down Purdue. I wanted to talk about Purdue in a little bit. Maybe we just do it now, which Iowa Sate fans are like, what the fuck? I thought you were about to talk about us. What just happened? I will say Purdue and Kansas are two teams that I kind of 2 or 3 weeks ago I said to myself, I kind of know what you are now, so I'm going to go ahead and just put you over here. And I don't really feel like I need to really revisit you. I have a feeling you're a finished product, and you're not a bad team, but you're just you're not a team that if I'm focusing on the top 5 to 10 teams in the country, I'm going to need to spend a lot of time paying attention to. I think you're good enough to beat anybody, but you're not good enough to be among the top group. Purdue and Kansas, I think, need to be revisited. I think Kansas's defense, since they, in the last X number of games, I'll pull up their schedule. Since they basically let Missouri go crazy on them in that first half, especially when Missouri built a huge lead, and Kansas there for a second tried to come back and make it interesting, but Missouri won by 10 or something in the end. Since that game, Kansas has low-key locked in defensively, low-key been awesome defensively, and they lost at West Virginia, but they played great defense against West Virginia. They just couldn't hit shit. They couldn't buy a bucket. Or that was at home. I'm sorry. I'm so used to them losing to Morgantown. That was at home. They couldn't shoot for shit, but they played pretty good defense. And Kansas, if you look at the game since December 8th, they held NC State to 60 points. They held Brown, who's obviously not good, but whatever, to 53 points. They held West Virginia to 62. They hold UCF to 48, win by 50 on the road at UCF, who's not going to, probably not a tournament team, but still, you're winning by 50 on the road in conference play. It's crazy. They hold Arizona State to 55, and they just held Cincinnati to 40. Their defense
40 is crazy.
Is locked the fuck in right now. And they still have, for all the flaws and all the the same points I've made about Hunter Dickinson 1,000 times throughout his career. And all the I'm a broken record when I talk about Kansas, especially on offense. This iteration of Kansas on offense and how they don't really have go-to guys who can go get buckets other than Zeke Mayo. And DeJuan Harris is the heart and soul of the team, but he's not. He's so limited offensively. And KJ Adams is just like a guy every time I watch him play, I'm like, for the love of God, will you just go play tight end in the NFL already? Just get this over with. What are you doing here? Just go to the NFL Combine. Why are you still here? They have some flaws offensively, but I tip of the cap to Kansas. They have locked the fuck in defensively. Big one on Wednesday playing Iowa State. And I'm slowly talking myself into what if Kansas just swallows dudes up. What if he's not paying attention anymore? What if Kansas shocks the world? That's where we've arrived with Kansas basketball. Is like they now winning Big 12 games. Winning the Big 12 game can be shocking from Kansas. But Kansas, I'll shut up in a second, but Kansas is the team that I think in the Big 12 I kind of said it's Iowa and it's Iowa State, and Houston, and Kansas is probably not actually going to be a viable conference championship contender, but I don't think they're done just yet. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I would say our next show will be Thursday, Wednesday night. That'll be our official baseline test of if they go, on the road and win that game, they're fucking back.
They are back, yeah.
But also I could see them going on the road and getting, I'm not going to say it, swallowed up.
Yeah. Iowa State's so good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State. Curtis Jones is a dude that I said at the top, I keep waiting for him to fall off. He just will not. What did he have against Texas Tech? He carried them. He not only carried them with the scoring, he carried them with like the confidence, the
26 points.
Like Texas Tech's defense was so focused on him. And it's such a luxury because you bring back Lipsey, you bring back Gilbert, and those are the two guys that were like leading the way last year. And I know Curtis Jones had a good year last year, but he wasn't nearly as good as he is this year. He's taken a massive leap. But you have those two guys like playing ahead of him, where Curtis Jones is coming off the bench, and it creates like an interesting wrinkle that can only happen in college basketball, where he's their best scorer. He is their leading scorer. I think Keyshawn Gilbert's still their best player, but you can make the argument that Curtis Jones is their best player. And yet no part of me thinks he should be starting. I love him coming off the bench. I love him being the sixth man that leads the team in scoring. I think it works so well for them. And that's something that can only happen in college basketball. Imagine that in the NBA. Imagine your leading scorer coming off the bench in the NBA.
It would cause – it's happened – college basketball is where your sixth man – like who was it a couple of years ago? The sixth man went in the top 5 in the draft.
Deion Waiters comes to mind.
Deion Waiters
that was like well over 5 years ago now, though. But I'm trying to think who else.
I forget who his name was.
Marvin Williams was the one way back in the day. He came off the bench for Carolina.
Point being, if you're one of the best players on your team, one of the best sixth man is wild.
Yeah,
I love it about college basketball.
And it makes it hard for other teams to prepare because you know that when he checks in, he's gonna be looking to score. You can have the scouting report ready and be like, all right, Curtis Jones, he's going to come off the bench. Got to be ready for this guy. He's going to be hunting shots. He had 26 in this game. Josh Jefferson was great, and he was the one I believe hit the shot to send it to OT. And he was good at the free throw line, especially for them late. But this was the Curtis Jones show down the stretch, and it's one thing for the scouting report to know that like when this guy comes off the bench, he's going to be hunting shots. But like once you're in the flow of the game, you're really not prepared for guys coming off the bench to be scoring like that. Like you kind of that's what makes it genius. Is like the starters are sort of settled in and kind of have a feel for the game, and then bam, here comes a wrinkle.
It's like
this dude that's just an absolute fucking bucket off the bench. It's crazy, and and I love it, and I genuinely don't want him to start because I think it makes him harder to guard when he comes off the bench.
It's like putting in baseball like one of your best hitters at the bottom of the lineup when you're just supposed to like feed him fastballs.
Yeah.
It's like, no, gotcha.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I he's been great all year. It shouldn't have taken this game for me to finally start talking about him on this show. I should have. It's something we should have. But he's had back-to-back games where they beat the hell out of Utah, but he was awesome in that game. Not that they needed him to carry him in that one, but this one they did. This one it was a tough road win. Texas Tech is I have nothing but respect for that program and those fans. That place looks awesome. I got to get to Lubbock. I want to get to a game so badly. They are crazy about basketball. I love their team. I love their culture. And I love who's the kid that I knew nothing about until this game. Christian Anderson, this freshman kid for Texas Tech was balling out, and shout out to him. JT Toppin's awesome. Darian Williams, tough foul, and then didn't hit the game winner down the stretch, but he's good. Chance McMillan was awesome this game, but the freshman kid was. Yeah, he got me fired up. I love this freshman class. And Christian Anderson was a kid that was apparently, they said on the broadcast, supposed to go to Michigan. And Juwan Howard got fired. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Texas Tech. And I don't know, he played really well. It was a fun game. Iowa State was lucky to win it. But
They were.
That was a low-key massive win in the Big 12 race, though. Like that was a game that was very losable, and Texas Tech is better than most people probably realize.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Houston obliterated Kansas State in Manhattan. I do love this Houston team. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about Houston. I have the same concerns for Houston that I always have for Houston, seemingly. Number one is Juwan Roberts is 6'7", and he's their center. He's incredible basketball player. I fucking love watching him play. Would take him on my team any day. I do worry about your center being 6'7".
Yeah.
I've always worried about it, but their defense is they're so good. They have replaced Virginia as the defensive culture team in college basketball. And the way that you would watch Virginia like 10 years ago, that stretch that Tony had culminating in the 19 national championship. And you were like, man, they not only are they good defensively, but they're just all bought in, and you just get the sense that you could plug anybody into this program and turn them into great defenders because of the culture. That's what Houston is. They are the best three-point shooting team maybe in the country. Certainly by percentage, I think they are. I think
number 2.
Yep. Oh, they're number 2?
Yeah.
They might be the best three-point shooting team, and they're arguably the best defense. And in modern basketball, what's not to love about that? You have a team that plays D and shoots threes well. That's
They haven't
enticing.
given up 58 points since November.
They're
Every
unreal.
game.
But my concerns are, like I said, your center is 6'7", and that has to matter at some point. But also Juwan Roberts has made it work for most of his career, so maybe it won't. And then the other thing I worry about Houston is they have a way of the advanced metrics love them. Every your Evan Miyakawas and your Ken Palms and all the other Bart Torviks, they always love Houston. And the reason they love Houston is because Houston, when they're playing a lesser opponent, will absolutely fucking crush them. Houston is very good at like in this example, going to Manhattan and playing Kansas State and just like destroying Kansas State's will. Houston against top teams is where it gets interesting. And they were a bounce of the ball away from beating Auburn. They did lose the game, and I think maybe maybe we can revisit that as the season wears on, and you look back on Auburn's run in the non-conference, and you're like, man, they were destroying everybody. And maybe as some cracks in the dam start emerging for Auburn, you're like, I don't know, man, they could have very easily lost to Houston. They could have very easily lost to Iowa State. Maybe Auburn, maybe we crowned Auburn a little too early, and maybe you like revisit that game, and you're like, if Houston did play Auburn again, maybe they would in fact be able to hang with Auburn. But Houston has a pattern of like when they play the top teams, they don't they prove they belong, but they don't necessarily win. Is that the word I'm looking for? They don't win.
Yeah.
And they don't look as, I don't know. I feel like there's like an inflated, and I love Houston. I'm a converted Houston guy. I was anti-Houston for a little while. When they were in the American, I was anti-Houston, and the year they went to the Final Four, the COVID year, I was a little critical of the program, and I was like, they're not really playing anybody, whatever else. They came to the Big 12, they win the league. I have nothing but respect for that program, but I can't really make sense of them because I've noticed the pattern of like when Houston plays lesser teams. Like when Houston gets to this is free money for everybody. When Houston gets to the NCAA tournament in the first round, take them to cover the spread.
Yeah.
They're going to be favored by like 19.5, and they will win by 36 because the team they're playing, they're going to be playing like a
I'll write that down. You're right.
They're going to be playing like a 15 seed that will just be shitting their pants trying to get the ball up the floor. They are so good at just like breaking the will of lesser opponents. But I don't know if they're just like got that extra gear yet. But I respect the hell out of them, and I love their roster. And I don't know. I haven't talked about Houston a lot this year, but I just wanted to let Houston fans know I'm not giving up on you guys. Like I see what's happening. Just because you lost to Auburn, it's not like I was like, oh, I'm done with Houston. Like Houston's very fucking good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the proof is in the pudding is what you're saying. Their games where they are supposed to win, they're winning these by 57 points, 36 points, 46 points. But then the 3 times that they've played, the 3 best teams they've played this year, they've lost to them all. And they've given up damn near 20 more points per game.
Yeah. Yeah, and last year they last year was the same sort of thing where they had some better wins last year, but they lose to Iowa State twice, and they lose by 28 in the Big 12 tournament to Iowa State. They lost by now Jamal Shed went down with the ankle, and that is very important context in that one. But I did like the history of they kind of have a vibe of Penn State football. There's a little bit of that.
Ooh,
a little bit.
Ooh, there is.
Just a
Actually, there is.
I don't mean it. That's going to sound like an insult to Houston fans.
No, but you're spot on.
There's a little bit of that, and I need to be reassured that Houston can hang with the big boys. And they got Saturday, January 25th, which is turning into a massive day in college basketball. I guess they go to Allen Fieldhouse. That'll be their first like big test against a national title Final Four caliber type team. So anyway, wanted to say that about Houston.
Current betting favorites to win the Big 12.
Houston?
Yeah, they only play Iowa State once, and they play them at home. It's close,
yeah.
But they're the current betting favorites.
I do think it's Iowa State and Houston, and then I think Kansas is on the
step below
on tier 1.5, but playing their way back into And Kansas does have the best home court advantage in college basketball, probably, even though West Virginia beat them. Mick Cronin.
Yeah, you had a couple coaching.
Mick Cronin. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Coaching clowns this weekend.
Yeah, Mick Cronin got tossed on purpose. Continued he's on like kind of a war path against his own sanity right now, I would say.
Is he winning or losing that war? He's losing.
I don't know, man. Probably losing. Yeah, probably losing. I since Mick Cronin got to UCLA, I have grown to like him more. As I think he's obviously a polarizing guy, and a lot of people don't like him. And you think back on his Cincinnati days, and the moments like trying to fight JP Mercura and stuff like that, and like and going chest to chest with Teddy Valentine, and he's just like always fucking angry and yelling at refs and yelling at his players and yelling at other players, and he's just like he was the embodiment of like little man.
Yeah, I said the best part of Mick Cronin is that he's 5'7".
He's 5'7",
while he does
just losing his fucking mind. I always felt like when he got to UCLA, he chilled out a little bit, relatively speaking. But yeah, lately it seems like Mick of old is bubbling back up. Like he's never been chill. Don't get me wrong, but I maybe it's just a factor of him being of them winning of UCLA's program being really good. Maybe that's what made him chill out. But I do feel like the last couple weeks we're seeing the Cincinnati Mick Cronin. Mick Cronin in his prime when he was pissed off about everything.
I don't think you can do the back-to-back like he just did. I don't hate the individual soft and delusional speech and then the intentional get thrown out, but you can't call your players soft and delusional and then be like, I'm done with this shit, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I mean,
that's soft and delusional.
Old school coaches would tell you he's just trying to do anything he can to get his team to respond. That's what old school coaches would tell you. And I would say, okay.
I'll give him credit.
Yeah. All right. Good luck with that.
So the tees came in about 2 seconds. He got 2 tees in 2 seconds, and then as he's walking out and the crowd's yelling and he's pissed off and everything, he does stop and give a handshake to the Maryland coach.
Yeah.
It's always class with Mick Cronin.
So you can cheat whatever you want. Just do not cheat the game of basketball. Do not cheat. You got to respect. It's respect at all times. Get the fuck out of it. Last thing, and then we can do some wrap up, shout out type stuff. Purdue, the Purdue Boilermakers just hung 104 points on Nebraska on Sunday. and are playing good basketball right now. And Caleb First has been inserted into the starting lineup, and C.J. Cox had a monster game yesterday. But Purdue is a team that, as we talk about Big Ten race, which I think it is, I would say Michigan and Michigan State are in the co-driver's seat. They're in the Michigan and Michigan State are like when you're doing driver's ed and the teacher has their wheel as well, and they can take control of the wheel, and they have pedals on their side as well. You know
so the Big Ten runs through Michigan, you're saying, right now?
The state of Michigan.
The state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Would be your co-favorites.
But Purdue is kind of in that Kansas position where it's like, even though it's sort of like last time we talked Big Ten, I said there were 5 teams that can win it. UCLA has fallen off. They're out. I think UCLA's out. I would be surprised if UCLA won the regular. If UCLA bounced back and won the regular season Big Ten championship. Illinois, I wouldn't say they're out yet, but obviously losing at home, and Yakuchunas is out, and this is they're playing behind the 8 ball for sure. I stand by Illinois having the most raw talent and having the highest ceiling in the Big Ten, but losing at home to USC is tough, and you're gonna have to make up some ground there. So they've taken a step back. I think Michigan and Michigan State, obviously they're undefeated in the conference and they're playing great right now. But Purdue is the one team. They opened up Big Ten play losing at Penn State. Since then, they have the 2 SEC losses. Auburn humbled them in Atlanta. I think they played. I think they might have played that game in Atlanta. They've won 5 straight now. None of these 5 that they've won are against top tier teams, but they're scoring the ball at an outrageous rate right now. The offense is humming. The defense has gotten a lot better, and I think Purdue still has, in the same way I talked about Kansas. When you talk about Kansas in the Big 12 race, it's like, yes, they did lose at home to West Virginia, but Allen Fieldhouse is still going to be very difficult to win in. And they have that luxury that other teams aren't going to have, even though Iowa State's tough to play and Houston looks tough to play. Like, Allen Fieldhouse is a different level. I think the same thing can be said about Purdue and Mackey Arena, that they have the best in-game atmosphere right now in the Big Ten, where I think Purdue is very much still in the Big Ten race, and they're playing great basketball right now.
What would you put second in the Big Ten? Like, is the gap between Mackey and whatever is second so large that's just a huge advantage?
I would
right?
say, yeah, right. Well, obviously, I'm an Indiana kid, so like I skew towards Purdue and IU as being the best environments.
I don't think.
I think I've said that about Assembly Hall. Is like Assembly Hall is, if you go to the wrong, Assembly Hall is probably like the shoe with football, where if you go to the wrong game, if you just catch like Northwestern coming to town at like a noon tip on a Saturday or something, you might be like, I don't know why this was so hyped up. But if it's a 9 p.m. tip on like a Tuesday night, and it's a top 5 team coming to Assembly Hall, that place gets so fucking loud and bonkers. And that's one of the great I think Assembly Hall big game situation is as good as anywhere in college basketball. The problem is it's not always on that level, and it's mostly because they're watching Mike Woodson basketball. They're just like, what the fuck, man? I can't bring myself to get fired up about this. So I would say it's probably IU given that context, but otherwise, I don't know, Michigan State gets rocking. I haven't been to Michigan since they renovated the place. It's apparently better. Chrysler Center has apparently gotten a lot better. And then there are now a lot of schools I haven't been to. I haven't been to Oregon, a lot of new. That's true. A lot of new Big Ten schools. I haven't been to Eugene to a game. I haven't been to Washington. Pauley is an awesome arena, but LA fans are.
UCLA, I know we already talked about it, but they're proving how tough it is going to be with this new Big Ten.
Yeah,
they've gone on the road twice now to Nebraska and Maryland, and they've lost 2 games they're not supposed to lose. And I just think that the dynamic of East to West, West to East, do you have, the unbalanced scheduling is going to be very important. And I mean, UCLA's lost 3 in a row, and 2 of them are to bad teams on the road in the Big Ten.
I think they've bowed out of the conference race already, but they're still good. So the defense, the thing with them was like they're playing maybe the best defense in the country, and now they just aren't. It's just falling off, and maybe that's why Mick Cronin's losing his mind. All right, before we get out of here, I got some cross-off updates. So I've added some criteria. A new thing I've added: if you have multiple 3+ game losing streaks, no national champion has ever endured 2 different losing streaks of 3 or more games, if that makes sense. Does that check out?
Say it again.
You can lose 3 in a row
once.
But if you lose 3 in a row, you have like this rough patch where you've lost 3+ in a row, and then you get back on the right track. And then you again have another rough patch where you lose 3+ in a row. You're not going to win the national championship.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a team that would be able to do that, and that's just I like that rule.
Yeah, so it's not you can have the one bad stretch.
Right.
You can't have 2 bad stretches because then that's just kind of who you are.
Correct.
Right? So you're not going to win the national. In fact, I went back and I looked, and no team has won the national championship with 2 different.
Pretty sure or fact?
That's a fact.
Wow.
That is a fact. I think. The other 2 things I added for non-power conference schools, if you have 9 or more losses, 2014 UConn was technically not considered a power conference in the American. They won the national championship. They had 8 losses. No team has been a quote-unquote mid-major, and that makes sense because if you're a mid-major, it stands to reason that your schedule is going to be a little easier and you're going to be able to beef up the wins, and you're probably not losing a lot of games if you're serious about winning a national championship, right? So if you lose 9, any mid-major, any non-power conference team that loses 9 or more games, you're automatically out. It's never happened before. No team's won a national championship coming from a non-power conference losing 9 or more games.
I like
right?
that.
And then no team has lost. The 1988 Kansas won the national championship with 11 losses. That's the most losses any team has ever had.
Okay.
So if you lose 12 games, you're out as well.
12 and you're out.
12 and you're out.
I really look forward to the graphic of when the tournament starts and we have the full field and we just cross off the teams before that just can't win.
Yeah.
That'll be fun to look at. Like, hey, sorry, you guys don't even need to show up, but these are the teams that can win.
Yeah, just FYI, we crossed you off in December. I don't know why you're here. And then meanwhile, we have like teams that aren't crossed off or in the NIT.
That's gonna. They could still.
They still have a path. Technically, the criteria that we laid out, they're still in it. So we still have the if you lost by 25 to a team that lost by 25 deal. So we added some poison teams. Tennessee, obviously lost by 30 to Florida. So moving forward, if they beat anybody by 25, that's bad news.
Wait, it's 25, right?
25.
Okay, I got a couple tweets this weekend about your Indiana Hoosiers.
Who did they lost
Iowa by exactly 25.
Oh, so they're out because Iowa lost by 30 to Wisconsin.
Yeah, they said
Indiana's out.
They said get them out.
Get Indiana out of here. Indiana's out. Yeah, that's official. You're right. They're officially out, which I didn't update. We'll add all right. I'll go through the teams that I've added then. Indiana, throw them on there. I need to go in and put them. I didn't write them down, but now they're on the list. Butler is losing $1 million in a row, and it's breaking my heart. But Butler sucks. So Butler's out because they, by virtue of losing 6+ straight, that was one of the criteria. Cal has multiple 3+ game losing streaks. They're out. Central Michigan was not 500 by Christmas. We haven't done this update since Christmas, but that was one of my criteria. You had to be at least 500 by the time Christmas rolled around. Dartmouth lost to Lemoyne, who is very. I did the 300+ on KenPom thing.
Out.
Lemoyne is not very good, so you have an atrocious loss. You're out. Detroit, Mercy, and Idaho were not 500 by Christmas. These teams were, in fact, still alive, believe it or not. They've been now crossed off. Kansas State has 2 3-game losing streaks. They're out. Missouri State has now lost 9 games, I believe. They're out because of the new criteria I just said. If you lose 9 and you're not a power conference team, you're out. Notre Dame now has 2 3-game losing streaks. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are out. Pacific has lost 9 straight, or did lose 9 straight. They're out. I can't remember when I wrote all this down and what the new situation is. So that's at one point they had lost 9 straight. Providence, who is a poison team, by the way, has 2 3-game losing streaks. Rice lost to an NAIA team. Richmond was not 500 by Christmas. Rutgers is a big one. Maybe not. I don't know. But Rutgers we had so much hope for in the preseason. 2 3-game losing streaks. Rutgers is out. San Jose State, same thing. Southern Illinois is not 500 by Christmas. Syracuse was not 500 by Christmas. And Weber State has multiple 3-game losing streaks. So those are the 19 teams. And then you throw Indiana on there, which we started with, who lost by 25 to a team that lost by 30. And there you go.
Yeah.
Those are the 19 teams that we have crossed off. The worst teams left are kind of like Chattanooga, I think, is still on there. Jacksonville is still technically on there. But it'll weed itself out. We're down to about 110-ish, I want to say. Like 100. It'll start.
Do any of the criteria, which one makes you the most nervous that we're going to weasel our way into, like, for example, Ohio State got beat by 1 million to Auburn. Ohio State turned around and beat Kentucky by 20.
Right.
Thank God it wasn't 25.
There are some that are very close to.
Also, Tennessee being a poison team because they lost by 30.
Here are your poison teams that will make you worry a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee is obviously the big one.
Yep.
So Tennessee beats anybody by 25. We have to cross that team off. Penn State's a new ad. Washington and Loyola Marymount are new ads, but they aren't as notable. Pitt is a poison team. Baylor is a poison team. Oregon is a poison team. Ohio State is a poison team. Nebraska, BYU, Oklahoma, SMU, Indiana. I think all of those teams are capable of beating decent teams. Indiana probably not as much. They're not going to win by 25. But all of those teams are interesting, to say the least. That SMU could catch. I guess SMU's in the ACC, so they're not going to beat Duke.
I was going to say.
So I don't know.
It's all about
that really matters as much. But yeah, there's some decent poison teams out there that if they put it all together and win by 25, we might be in trouble. But I don't think we will be. I'm still feeling pretty good about it.
Okay.
I'm still feeling pretty good about it. We'll be all right. What else before we get out of here?
Your boys at Free Lutheran.
Free Lutheran, massive win according to who Mostly Sports tweeted that out, Cody?
Yeah, I accidentally tweeted that out because Brandon Walker texted our group chat saying they won.
Brandon Walker's a dumb bitch,
wrong.
dude.
Wait, they didn't win?
Brandon Walker ruined my weekend. He texted.
You tweeted it.
Yeah.
I told people they won.
Brandon Walker texted the group and was like, so Free Lutheran, Cody and I are locked in as locked in as anybody else, but when they play on the road, their YouTube doesn't play the games. Mm-hmm. So the only games that I know how to watch are the home games. Mm-hmm. So they're playing on the road this weekend. I have no way. You can't just get on Twitter and follow like the beat reporter for Free Lutheran. So I have no idea what's going on in these games. And then Brandon Walker hits the group chat with an update, and he's like, holy shit, they did it. They won. And he has a screenshot of a score, and it says they played St. Boniface or something, some Canadian school. And they scored 71 points, and they beat them on Saturday.
Okay.
And I'm losing my mind. One,
right.
that they won the game. Two, that they scored 71. I figured their win would be like 36-29 or something. Like
we were so happy.
I was losing my mind.
Popping bottles, yeah.
It was the women's team. The women's team won. The women's team played the same school, but they won. So then I did some research of my own, and this is important. This is why you have to do your own research. Because Brandon Walker said, I'm pretty sure they won, and that's not good enough. I had to do my own research. They, in fact, did get destroyed in the two games they played this weekend. So
that's even worse than.
That's
bad.
I would rather them have scored 0 points in both their games than what we had to what we were dealt with, Cody. Like
that's the highs and lows.
Getting the text that they won.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It ain't easy being a Free Lutheran super fan for you too.
Dude, I was running through the street like screaming, taking my shirt off.
And then someone probably came outside and said,
like,
Titus, they lost.
Yeah, it was crazy. So Brandon Walker's a dumb bitch is the lesson there. How's Gottlieb doing, by the way? I wrote that down. I wrote down one thing I wanted to do is just check in on Doug Gottlieb.
Did you see he was getting trolled by the Rico Bosco crowd?
No.
You didn't see that? It was great. It was
I don't see anything, dude.
They played on
oh my God.
They played Milwaukee, I think.
He's 2-16.
Yeah, he's 2-16.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
And as they're getting their ass kicked the other day, the students from, I think it was Milwaukee, were chanting Rico Bosco.
Oh no!
At him.
Oh no, that's tough.
2-16
on the year for Doug. That's tough, man. I honestly didn't know he was 2-16. I just had the thought coming into the show today. I was like, we haven't talked about Gottlieb in a while.
I like that idea.
How he's doing
of a check-in.
Let's just check in on Gottlieb. 2-16. Not doing. Last few games, lost to Milwaukee, lost to Northern Kentucky by 18, lost to Wright State by 23, lost to Purdue.
Remember when they were like beating Oklahoma State at the half, or I think it was maybe tied first game.
That's funny.
It's like, they're gonna be good.
Last thing, some cleanup duty from last show. We were talking Cavs Thunder. I teased it at the top of the show. I said Cody has some thoughts, and then I called Cody a pervert, and then I never let Cody share his thoughts. So I imagine people that were really locked in on last show were like, why did Titus just call Cody a pervert? And then we never circled back to that. Why did I call you a pervert, Cody?
Yeah, because there was a picture going around of SGA and Donovan Mitchell. They had an underwear commercial that they did, and Donovan Mitchell out-meated Shy. So I was going around the circles on Twitter that, in the image.
Yeah, but every time we were talking about the Cavs Thunder game, both leading up to it and in the immediate aftermath of the game, you referred to it as what?
It was the meat off.
And that's why I got
You ever out-meated someone? Out-meated has to be.
There was one night in college.
I out-meated the boys.
Things got a little crazy, out-meated.
Yeah.
Insane.
Unreal.
You kids on the internet, man.
We got nothing else to do.
You got nothing else
I do
to
have
do.
one more thing before we go.
Go ahead.
For the real sickos and the true OGs, happy 15-year anniversary to the Mr. Rainmaker video.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's the legacy of Mr. Rainmaker with the youths? Non-existent?
I mean, it's like
It was barely existent with my generation.
early internet days, like classic video.
Yeah. Someday that's going to get 1 million views.
I was going to say it's at 630.
What are we at? 600,000?
631.
Yeah, that was fun.
Let's get that to 1 million.
That was a fun video to make, Mr. Rainmaker.
Got to remake it.
I remember when I made it. The whole point was that when I'm older, I want to be able to have. It was supposed to be funny and haha and a joke, whatever. But it was also like a subconscious way to, like, when I'm older, have proof that I could play a little bit. And I love that I have on video me dunking a basketball. I just love that that's part of it.
I'm watching it now.
Because I put, like, there's so much goofy shit in it, obviously, but then there's also just, like, watch me hit, like, 23s in a row and watch me dunk.
How long did that actually take you to make? Was that one day?
It was one day, yeah. It was one day. The shot from the crowd, that's the one I get asked about the most. It was we were filming in the practice gym. Most of the videos in the practice gym. And then I wanted to go down and do a couple shots on the main floor. And so I took 2 basketballs down to the main floor. The practice gym's up in it's like upstairs or whatever. So you walk out onto basically you have to walk down to get to the main floor. You know what I mean? Like, so when you leave the practice gym, you now have to walk down to the main floor. So I'm walking and I'm holding the 2 balls and my guy, calm down, Cody. I'm holding the 2 basketballs and my guy is walking behind me and I just say, hey, turn the camera on real quick. I'm going to just let's just see if I make these. And I threw the first one and you can see it bouncing. If you pay attention closely, you can see that the first ball is like bouncing on the court. I missed the first one, and then that was the second throw, and it just went in, and I got extremely lucky.
That's crazy.
That was it. But everyone's like that. When I first put it out, everyone's like, that's obviously fake, or that probably took you, years. That wasn't part of the shit. Like if I missed the second one, I was just gonna not have. That wasn't like, it wasn't like we have to get this shot. It was just like, hey, just turn it on just to see what happens.
Yeah, and then you hit it.
And then I hit it, and then we're like, well, obviously we're going to put that in there.
Opportunity for all the listeners out there. Your YouTube is the funniest thing I've ever seen, by the way. You have 4 videos. Do you know what they are?
There's me lip-syncing
Whitney Houston,
which was a high school project I did, and I put that on my YouTube.
Yep.
There's me jumping off a high dive in a Speedo, or a platform. A
10-meter platform, and then in an interview. But you have 999 subscribers. So, listeners,
really?
You have the opportunity to actually, you know what? I'm number 1,000. I'm number 1,000.
I mean,
wow, what a moment.
There's a 0% chance I'll ever post anything on that YouTube ever again, but
Mr. 1,000.
Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I see me digging that up when I'm like 70 years old, and that'll be my high school. That'll be my Indiana high school. That's what I want to do in retirement. I want to do an Indiana high school basketball show, but I film it in Santa Barbara, California, and it's a live call-in show.
While you're the part-time Maui ambassador?
And I'm the Maui ambassador, yeah. But I take phone calls from Santa Barbara, from my house in Santa Barbara, California.
About Indiana high school.
And it's a live show, and it's a Friday night show, and it's after the games, and you call in. It's what Bob Lovell does for all the Hoosiers out there that are listening or watching me right now. Bob Lovell's a fucking legend, and it was the show that my dad and I used to drive around the state and go to high school basketball games, and then when we're driving home, we'd listen to Bob Lovell. And he'd be like, got the head ball coach at Ron Colley calling in here. It looks like your boys got a big one, 38-33 against Speedway. What was the difference? And he's like, yeah, Bob, we really turned to that press in the second half. We were wreaking a lot of havoc on them. And, I just want to give a shout-out to Jason Powell. He stepped up big for us, 12 big points, just 12. And it's just, coach, it's the most boring shit if you're not, like, really locked in on it. But Dad and I were always so locked in on it. And that's what I want to do with my retirement.
From California.
From California, though, which is a funny wrinkle. It's like I'm just staring at the beach as I'm talking to everybody about high school basketball in India. All right, we've talked enough. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll We'll be back on Thursday. Some big games this week. Keep an eye on, and no football really. So it's not quite college basketball season, but it is time for college basketball to fill in the gaps throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
The days of football being on every single day are no more. So college basketball is starting to heat up a little bit. See you guys Thursday.